Hello everyone and welcome to this new video from this photo critique series. I decided that this is going to be the last video, and the way I made that decision was looking by all the photos that have been submitted, and I realized that there is a theme that kind of repeats itself, and the main advice of being attention to the subject and having a composition that supports the subject appears over and over again. So what I decided was to look at all the other episodes up to episode 12 and to make a selection of the best photos and the photos that are worth talking about. And if your photo was not selected, please don't be upset about it. It means that you need to work more. You need to always look at this as a motivation to work more, to work harder, to study more, to know exactly what you're doing. I don't know exactly how this series of submitting photos will continue, so let me know in the comments below if you want some type of theme submission that will go on weekly, or if you think that organizing some type of weekly contest or monthly contest would work on a certain theme. I'm thinking maybe a monthly contest would be interesting with a given theme, and the idea that you should make or photograph the photos that you submit during that month, and I don't know, maybe sounds interesting to you. Now make sure you like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Maybe you found all the information useful and you want to know exactly when I do a new upload, so that is why subscribe and be up to date. Also make sure to follow me on Instagram. I post a lot of photos over there, and place a comment if you want to say something. Let's get into the photo critique now.
This first photo is from Darren J. Spoonley, which talks that this is the moment when he started vlogging. So first of all, good luck with your vlogs, and I hope you do great. The photo was made with Canon 6D Lee gradiated filter of 3 stops, 1 second exposure in f11. Well, the composition, it's really good, and I really like that you have here a line that it's leading to this, and then you have a counter line over here. The exposure time, I think it's perfect. I like the way the water looks, and I think it's a great photo. And I also think that the black and white version of this will look good. Now, this photo from Thomas Dovidaitis, my first HDR photo, 3 exposures. The reason for which I selected this photo, it's because I don't recommend you to go that far away with the HDR processing. The reason for shooting for HDR is to have total control on your highlights and on your shadows, but be subtle. This is first of all, this is too bright, this is too saturated, and then from a composition point, the photo has too many elements. You have this element of interest, this element of interest, and you should always decide only on one element. Now this photo from, again, I can't really pronounce this name, with you, my brother, nothing is too far away. The name of the photo is okay, and the photo, it's nice. I mean, I have nothing bad to say about this photo. I don't know if this is staged, but if this is not staged, then this is a really wonderful photo because it tells a story. This next photo from Trecime di Lavaredo in the Dolomites from Ljubomir Paut, Canon 5D Mark IV, lenses 16 to 35 mm, shot at 21 mm f8, 125th of a second, ISO 100. It's a really great image. And the only improvement, I think the exposure, it's okay. The improvement in composition, I think, would have been to kind of crop from here and at the edge of the water. And then I have a small observation. I see that the sky is darker over here, a dark blue rather than this. I was wondering if you used a circular polarizer and it took effect only here, or maybe this is because the sun it's right over here and this is a natural effect. But if you did use a polarizer, be careful in the future not to have one part of the sky polarized and the other part unpolarized. But maybe this is not the case over here. So this photo from Frank Waters, a rural road in Edgar, Montana, shot with a Canon T3i with 18 to 55 kit lens. Now, in my opinion, this photo would have made it great just like this, in a composition like this. But because the line, it stretches, this line stretches from here, I think this composition may work like this. It's a little bit forced in my opinion, but it can work. So next time, try maybe to experiment to have this, to make a crop like this. Let's say to stop over here. But even as it is, the photo, it's nice to look at. I like that all other elements are almost desaturated, and then you have this that it's saturated. So the overall feeling of the image, it's okay. Deja vu. I think I saw this type of image. Andrei Balou. It's a photo made this autumn in a forest from Bukovina region in Romania. The post-processing is great, the photo is great. What I suggest for you in the future is to be more careful to the edges. You see you have a tree over here, then you have a tree over here that kind of pokes the eye, and to have a much more stronger line over here. Other than that, the photo is okay. Ricardo Costa, Sony A7 II. This is a photo that I'm not an expert of, a photo subject that I'm not an expert of. The image is pleasant to look at. The elements that I think you should be always careful in a moment like this is to eliminate elements, for example, like these rubbers over here, just to have a cleaner frame. Then, in my opinion, I would have made the crop from here, or position myself in a way that these should not be visible, because I don't want to attract the viewer's eye. Tim Borner. Pretty sure I need some better light. This was shot mid-afternoon, but I'm interested in composition ideas. Well, in a forest like this type of composition and this type of panoramic shot looks good. That is why I selected this photo. Yes, the moment of the day it's not perfect. The light is not perfect, but as a composition it's okay. Now what you need to be careful is to try and find an interesting element. Now you do have this, you have these trees over here, and then you have this tree that it's a little bit special, but it's almost in the center, so you need to in this case it doesn't work as a centered composition. This would have worked a little bit to the right. Sometimes it works in a centered composition, sometimes it doesn't. Tom Gorman, snowstorm near my house. This photo is really great. As you can see, you see here the snowstorm. I didn't have to read this to know exactly that it's a snowstorm. And also I like that the fact that it's a simple subject. It's one subject, it's high contrast subject, it separates better, and it shows the weather. I know exactly what it's happening, so congrats on this photo. Lauren Banks. I really like this photo. This photo is calm. It has an almost zen feeling, if you want. The surface of water, the composition, I think it's great. I like that this is darker, and then further away you go, lighter it goes. So the post-processing, it's not over the edge. I think the entire mood and feeling of the photo, it's really great. Thanks, Tom, for the critique. This is a photo from Steve Algie, sunset photo of the breakwall or lighthouse in Newcastle, Australia. Settings f11 6-second exposure with ND filters. Well, in a situation like this, first of all, the moment of light, it's really great. Now, the post-processing, I think, goes a little bit too much with the saturation. But this is my personal opinion. Some people like photos that are more saturated. Some people like me like it a little bit desaturated. In terms of composition, I think that you should always work in diagonals and not straight lines like this that can divide the photo. So by positioning yourself a little bit to the right and pointing your camera more to the left, this straight line becomes something like this, and then you have the subject. So this is my way of thinking, but this photo is great and it has a lot of potential. Also, be very careful with the sky. This place over here, this element over here, it's not serving the photo, so the photo could benefit from a crop right now. Moritz, an old shed on the field in central Germany, and I really like how it's post-processed, this photo. The post-processing preserves details over here, and sometimes it's not easy to do, sometimes it's easy to do that, but I really like that it's not over the edge with the editing and the saturation. And the composition, it's okay, it tells a story, you know exactly where you are. It's a little bit burnout over here from the contrast, but it doesn't, it will affect this photo if you want to print it. This is something that I can be 100%. If you want to print this photo, it will not look good at all because of this, but just for web and the entire feeling of the image, it's okay. Craig Holmes, thanks Tom for this opportunity. It's one of my favorite photos from a recent trip to Antarctica. This photo, I selected it because it's great. The atmosphere is great, and I think that this type of photos benefit a lot from a low contrast editing, and sometimes maybe black and white, but it's your own decision. But it looks great, and also has a point of interest. This hole in the iceberg, it looks great. Andre Duncan Storhog, this photo, it's good. The only element that drags it down is this. So in a situation like this, my suggestion is, if you realize that this element stands in your way, then go to your left or to your right in order to avoid it. If you can't avoid, my suggestion was to clone this element. You already went for black and white, which is not a representation of reality. You can clone this without a problem. And other than that, the photo is perfect in composition. I think all the lines work perfect, and the atmosphere is good. But this is right in my eye, so get rid of it, in my opinion at least. Sreten Zivkovic, color splash. It's exactly what I was gonna say. I really like the feeling of this photo and the moment when it's captured. I really like the fact that it's the snowflakes are frozen in their motion. The model is okay placed. You have a light to her left, then two lights to her right. It would have been better if the model would have been somewhere over here, but this is a good image, I think, and it has a good vibe associated with. Jose Crespo, tribute to a missing friend. Thanks for all, mulțumesc. Yeah, thanks Jose for this mulțumesc. Mulțumesc is thank you in my maternal language. And I've selected the photo because it has a really beautiful atmosphere connected to it. And I know that it's enhanced in editing, but this is something that it happens a lot in the forest, where you have a clearance and you have a little bit of light, then you have and you made the exposure for this area, then you have this sensation that you are going from darkness to light. It's often in forest, and this photo, I think, depicts exactly what the title says and tells the story very beautifully. David Pollock. The moment that you captured over here, it's okay. The problem is that you have your main subject and your main action, and you should give your subject the possibility to evolve or to develop. And this means to have enough negative space in the positive side. So the direction of the motion is this. You should have had a lot more space in here. For example, this should have been something like this, 1/3 of the image, and the other third of the image should be empty to have enough space for this to develop. Other than that, the moment it's okay. It's just the framing, it's too tight. Darren J. Spoonley, Nohoval Cove, Ireland. A rare occasion to be able to access this part of the cove. Canon 6D, 30 seconds exposure. Have nothing bad to say about this photo. I really like the atmosphere. I really like how much sky is in the photo. I think it's the perfect ratio over here. You start the photo here, then you have these elements that go into a zigzag. Then you have this stopping element that forces you to go into this direction over here. It looks great. Zana Plosnik, Stolbrek Panorama, Adriatic Sea, Croatia, with a Canon 6D and 96 seconds exposure. I think the decision to do a long exposure was really great, and I really like the clarity and the sharpness of all the buildings. The decision to go for black and white, it's also a good decision. The image is great, and I think you should do more of these type of images because it looks good. I don't know other images of you, but this type of image looks really good, and maybe you should go on with a series that is similar in aspect ratio and framing, but are different cities. Andy Schiller, Dordel Door, 60 seconds exposure, an iconic place that I have wanted to go to for a long time, and it did not disappoint me. The entire vibe of the image, it's really great. The composition, it's okay. In this situation, the sand works really great. If you didn't have a long exposure, the sand would not look that good. But in this case, you have you almost can't tell if it's water. You know it's water, but it looks like anything else. But then you have this spot of color, and then you have this element. Basically, you have something. If you convert this image to black and white, you will have something like light, darkness, light, and then darkness. And this is why I think the image works okay. This patch of light is perfect because it helps draw the eye to this area. I think the entire image, it's okay, and I also think it will work good if you decide to convert it to black and white. Tasso Cargo, panorama shot of Zero in India. I will not try to pronounce that. I will try. Arunachal Pradesh, India. Okay. It's a really complex composition. That is why I selected this image. First of all, in terms of editing, I think the contrast and the saturation may be a little too high, but again, this is my own preference. Up until here, the editing, it's okay. I'm having problem with what's happening over here. I think this is too saturated. As you can see, you have a lot of blue in this area. Maybe just desaturate the blue a little bit, and just a tiny bit here. Now, in terms of composition, this is really a really complex composition, but I think it works. You have all these elements that kind of, I don't know, like a pinball machine. You kind of go from bang 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 bang. You kind of go there. So I think it works. I think it's okay. Jason Clemens, this is a waterfall in western North Carolina. Thanks for your time. Well, thanks Jason for submitting your photo. The waterfall is great. Your position, it's great. The editing, I think it's okay. The saturation, it's okay, and contrast, it's okay. The only thing that I would improve is your position would have been better to a little bit to the left, but I see this tree over here and I realize that this tree would cover the waterfall. Now I don't know if you could go to the right. The reason is this. Here you have almost a straight line. I personally prefer a much more diagonal line, so I would have preferred to have this waterfall evolving something like from here to here and then going up to here. Even as it is right now, the photo, it's okay. It's not a bad photo, but I think you can improve it by changing a little bit the position. And in the future, try to look at this whole line. If it's too vertical, you should go from left to right and then going back to the left. This is what I think works better. Keith Doucet. Thomas, thanks for taking all this time to give much appreciated feedback on our images. Truly a very generous use of your valuable time. Well, thanks for appreciating this, Keith. Let's see. A very early fall morning, attempting to get the right fog conditions. Needless to say, Mother Nature didn't see it my way. Well, Mother Nature does what she wants. Okay, the image is good. I really like it. And the only thing that I would change is this. I would crop it out or clone it out. But other than that, the image is perfect. It's very simple. You have again an alternation, light, darkness, darkness, dark, light again. You have this beautiful feeling, and you have a simple subject which looks okay. It's a fir tree that looks interesting, and the image, I think it's great. Duncan Craig. Hi Thomas, here is something where I add one of my favorite subjects to an outing. The background was a mixture of sky and forest. The image I cropped to get my final composition. Well, the bird, it's beautifully captured. I don't know if your focus is a little bit off, because this looks more sharper than the eye of the bird, but maybe this is understood because you shot at 600mm lens. The composition is okay the way you cropped it. It's perfect the way it evolves. I think the image, it's okay. I don't know how difficult it is to capture this kind of bird. I'm not a wildlife photographer, but the overall feeling and the overall image, it's okay. Luis Siaga Wanto. My first abstract image, there is a lot of spot removal because my dirty sensor. Yeah, I realized this. Once you close the aperture beyond f22, you realize how dirty your sensor is. But the image, it's okay. I selected it because I've also done and I also do this type of images, and I think the image is okay. It's very well processed and it looks great. Jason Stumped. I don't, just Jason Stumpjes. I don't know. I shot this image in a park in La Crosse, Wisconsin. It was handheld, shot using a Nikon D610. There was just a perfect balance of fog and sunlight. Well, yes, the balance is perfect because you have details over here. Your decision to shoot this photo as a panorama or crop it as a panorama, it's a good one. The image looks okay. It's interesting to look at. Roba. Hi Tom, I shot this image on a foggy day. The thing that I would have improved, I don't know if it's possible, was to go a little more to the right, just to eliminate this from my shot. Other than that, the image is okay. Your intention is okay, and in the future try to make similar images because they look nice, but just pay attention to the frame edges, not to include an element like this, for example, that I think doesn't support the image, and also tilts the balance to this side. If you would have had a similar element, for example, over here, then this would have made sense. Mircea Sasu, winter landscape at Măgura Branului on a cloudy Sunday. It's okay. The composition is perfect. I really like the fence that it's making this turn, and this is placed in a place that looks okay. The post-processing is okay. It's not over the top. so the image is nice. It's okay the way it is. This is Tuscany. Yes, Gennady Chepornyak. Once upon a time in Tuscany. Well, I can't say anything bad about this image. It's perfect, and I really like the fact that the property looks small. It gives you a sensation or an impression of where it is. Yes, the properties in Tuscany are on these hills, and I'm also going to take advantage of this photo and tell you there are 2 more spots available for the photo tour in Tuscany. Maybe you're interested. We're going to photograph this type of properties, but nice. This is a nice image. Well, this is an interesting thing. When I clicked on it and selected for this talk, I didn't realize that it's a rubber, but it looks interesting. Well, it's an image by Frank Waters. The image is perfectly executed. I would have preferred to be something else than a rubber. Now, a suggestion. This bending, it's probably you also have this bending. I don't know if Facebook damaged this photo that much, but if you have this bending, it's from high contrast. David Newbold, sunrise image of the molten barn in Grand Teton National Park. Well, this is a spectacular place, and I really like the way this image was edited. It has a little bit too much sharp on some areas, but the image is good, it's clean, the post-processing is fresh. This is a word that I think describes this, and the way it's framed, I think it's a really interesting image. Paul Downey, Moel Elio Ridge, Snowdonia, Moel Elio Ridge. This was taken last weekend on the descent from Mount Snowdon. The original plan was to shot sunset near the summit, but due to strong wind and chill, we decided to descend early. I managed to get this shot almost halfway down. This is a bracketed image at 2 stops either way. Okay, 6D Mark II. The only problem that I'm having with this image is the high contrast in the editing. Usually high contrast tends to create these really dark shadows, which I think don't look that good in a photo. If you want to go for this type of contrast and this type of composition, this works better, I think, in black and white. Of course, you have this the light of the sunset, but in a situation like this, the light of the sunset doesn't help. You don't have enough vegetation or enough colorful elements that should justify a colorful image. So I think this image would look better in black and white. But if you go for a color version, just don't go that much on the contrast. Other than that, from a composition point, I think the image, it's okay. Maybe if I would have been there, maybe I would have tried, if it would have been possible to kind of eliminate more of this and had more of this line, this line, this line, this line. This is all good. Maybe I would have tried to crop it from here to eliminate more of this, that it's not that interesting. Matt Bowen, high contrast abstract of ice in a lake. The textures were very interesting to me, especially the cracks in the ice that I thought looked like roots. Yes, they look like roots. They also look like rivers seen from above. Usually a river seen from above has a wider portion, and then it goes like this in all sorts of, sometimes a delta looks like this, but the image, it's nice. It has an abstract feeling, because you can't connect it to something in nature right away. This image is I saw it was, yes, now it comes clear. Duncan Craig, hi Tom, I posted this in a previous critique, but I cropped the image. Yes, now it looks better. I would have emphasized more this. I would have placed much more light on this from the editing. Maybe you went too far with the contrast, and that is why this is not that visible, but this is better than the previous version. David Nicole. This was taken on my Canon 6D. Well, this is it's a really good intention. Having a tree in a light and then having the background in a lower light helps the tree separate better. The only thing is to be careful what kind of tree you choose over here. This is not that interesting. Maybe if you would have went with a longer focal length. I see that you have the possibility to go up to 105 millimeters, and maybe when somewhere close, just frame, for example, this area or maybe this area, or find another tree that has a little more something that it's much more interesting. This is, I don't know why this is not that interesting, but I selected this photo just to let you know that your intention was okay, your way of thinking, it's okay. Just make sure your subject picking it's a little more refined. Ana Sosa. Well, it's a simple image, and the only suggestion I have is to pay attention in the future to the elements. Let me explain. You have water that has a point over here. This point will attract the eye. Okay, you have a little bit of darkness, then you have a little bit of light, and this light continues over here and goes up to this windmill. Now this windmill, it's too far to the left and too up in the frame. It should have been somewhere around here. When this is happening, when you have two elements of interest that are too far away apart in the image and that are almost in opposite angles, it creates a separation that it's not that good. That this photo for it's kind of divided in two, and at this point, because of the way you place this. If you would have had this mill placed more in the center and this more in the center, then this would have worked as a whole. Now you have two photos. You have a photo like this, and then you have a photo like this. Frank Waters, taken with Canon T6i with ND filter, 10 seconds exposure. My only suggestion to improve this photo was to crop it at 1 by 1 and to get rid of all this that it's not helping. Other than that, the image is perfect. You have two elements, one here, high contrast. I like the editing, it's black and white, you can do whatever you want. Dark contrast, it's okay for this type of editing, but I think that cropping the image up to here would have made it better. Lauren Smith. Hi Tom, my first image submitted to your group. This is Happisburgh Beach, Norfolk, UK. It was taken on May 1st, 2016. Why I selected this image? Because it's the pure definition of Zen, I think. It's such a beautiful and fresh image. It's an image that I like looking in the morning. It depicts the morning state, the morning feeling, if you want. It kind of makes you go, you know. This is the reason for which I selected this photo, and my suggestion is to go and make a series of 10 photos like this, and then you have something much more interesting. Francisco Costa, f8, 20th of a second, 16 millimeter, Lee soft gradiated filter. In the moment I didn't have the long lens, so I've cropped the image in a lake in Portugal. I think it's great. The composition works. If I would have been there, I would have tried to have, beside this, here is another idea. Only this I think makes a really beautiful photo, and only this makes another interesting and beautiful photo. But the photo, it's okay also like this. Andrei Balou. Well, this is a photo made from Plesha, Bukovina. This is a place from where I also shoot the sunrise during one of my workshops, but I'm shooting more in this direction, where is an interesting Polish church. my suggestion, Andrei, make sure that you don't have this type of element that doesn't look like anything. So this is okay. Your photo should have started from here. Always eliminate elements, and also up here, all this is not useful. Always ask yourself if the element is useful to your photo. Matt Bowen. This is a perfect photo, I think. If you would have had this a little more like a volcano, this would have looked like a volcano erupting with the Milky Way. It sounds strange, but this is the reason for which I selected this photo. It kind of looked like this was a small volcano and the volcano erupted with the Milky Way. I think it looks great. Keith to say, hi Toma, this image was taken on a December evening at the top of the road where I live. I was drawn to the fog bank that hovered above the tidal river. The sun had just set behind the softwood ridge on the opposite shore. It seems like a fairy tale castle suspended above the fog bank. Yes, it looks like a fairy tale castle. Why I selected this photo? Because I think it's great. The only elements that I think that are not needed is from here up. So I think you should crop the photo from here down, and you will have a much more powerful composition. The image is okay. You should leave it like it is. Just my suggestion is to crop this out. Jason Clemens, this is a scene from the mountains of Blairsville in North Georgia. The lake at Vogel State Park was partially frozen and the storm was rolling in to create a wonderful moody scene. Okay, love your channel and have applied techniques learned from you. I'm glad my suggestions and tips are useful. The photo, it's okay. The entire feeling, it's okay. The thing that you should be very careful in the future is your edges. For example, this should not be over here, and this element draws the eye too much. So if possible in future, don't include, for example, an element like this that looks like a mistake, and don't include elements like this that could draw the eye, because your entire composition, it's nice. It's the way it evolves, it's nice, but you should not have elements that will compete for this. Your eye should go into the distance in this case, in the case of this image. And the last image from Julie Parot, ISO 100.8 seconds. I was shooting stars, and in the morning I had this really nice color in the sky just over the lake. Thanks, and really great channel. Thanks for watching. My only suggestion with this would be to crop it from here, just to have the sky only 1/3 of the image, because this way you are forced to look kind of down. In the way it is right now, your eye can escape in the upper part of the photo. So this was my only suggestion. Other than that, the image is okay. I have nothing bad to say about it. The only thing that I would have done would be to crop it from here, or when you shoot it, to kind of point the camera more in the down direction. So this was it for this photo critique series, and I hope that all these episodes helped you in becoming a better photographer and helped you getting some answers to your questions. Now, again, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, thanks for following me, and until next time, keep on photographing. It's the only way that you can get better. Bye bye. Show me if the season is ending. Is this hardship surrender?